In progress.
Okay, so this is where we left off yesterday. The idea that neurons that fire together wire together. It was actually a Canadian neuroscientist that figured this out. So you're in a smart country. Okay, the kids that we are working with, they are all doing exactly the best job that they can of surviving. And they have learned a whole bunch of different methods, techniques, response strategies, all of those kinds of things to help them feel safe, basically. So let's carry on here a little bit. And like I said yesterday, it's our job to help take them from where they are at and start to help them rewire their response patterns. So we are going to look at standard stress response. So stress is all sorts of things. It could be worrying about something. It could be being in a scary situation. It could be being in an unfamiliar situation. All sorts of things it can be. And if we've learned that substance use helps minimize our feeling about the stress, then it has given us the idea that it relaxes us. But this is just a perception. It isn't a real thing. So remember those 4 questions we talked about yesterday. Constantly have people check their thinking. Okay, this is how you're feeling. What are you thinking that is creating that feeling? And is it currently true? Oh, wrong button. So as soon as we start to use a substance to manage how we feel, we've taught our brain that it doesn't have to really do anything. And your stress management ability is weakened. It's like paying somebody else to go to the gym for you. It doesn't help you at all. And the other thing it does is whenever we feel stress, our brain doesn't look for other options. It just looks for substance use. That's where cravings come from. And again, after 2 or 3 days of detox, any cravings that people feel are not physical. They might think they're physical, but they aren't. They are emotional. And they're looking for something to stop the hurt. So if we look at what's going on with our brain, drugs and alcohol overstimulate dopamine and serotonin much more than normal activities like food and sex do. And we start to create what's called negative brain chemistry. So a kid goes out and gets high, overstimulates dopamine and serotonin. The result of that is that the next day or when they come down from that experience, their dopamine and serotonin is below normal. And that means their brain's not working quite properly. So it's harder to think, it's harder to problem solve. And so just like if you're hungry, you will look for food because this stuff works in exactly the same brain pathway. This is part of our reward system. So you go back to what worked, and if they were smoking weed or drinking alcohol or whatever, it works, but it didn't go as high as it did the time before. And that's because our brains aren't designed to handle that much stimulation on any kind of regular basis. So when that wears off, we go down lower, and low dopamine instantly causes frustration because we can't think. It causes a hard time focusing, hard time paying attention, hard time concentrating. And low serotonin really suppresses mood, so we tend to feel depressed. And again, we do it again, and again, it works but not as well as it did the time before. And so really quickly you slide down this chemical hill. Now, it doesn't matter what the name of the drug is. It doesn't matter how much money somebody has. Nothing matters because brains are the same and they respond the same. It doesn't matter what color you are. It doesn't matter whether you're LGBTQ. And none of that stuff makes any difference. It certainly colors how you feel about yourself, and it colors uh, how you respond to your environment, how your environment responds to you. But brain-wise, that's the same. So this is Maslow's hierarchy of human needs. And the way this works, every day we go up this triangle as far as we can. And we have to do these things sequentially. So your physiological needs, air, food, and water, have to come first. Once you've got enough of those things, then we move up to feeling safe. And that's safe in our environment. Things are manageable. There's not a lot of unexpected things going to happen. Those sorts of things. So initially, when you get somebody into the program, letting them know really clearly what the day is going to look like, what's going to happen next, those sorts of things are going to help them get comfortable with that change process. Once their safety needs are filled, then we start to connect with people. So they'll connect with the counselors, they'll connect with other people in the program. And as they start to move through the program, then they start to move up here where they start to accomplish some stuff, like see some change. And that starts to build self-esteem. And then self-esteem allows us to start to figure out what we're good at. Now, substance use usually starts here. Most substance use starts in a group of people as a social thing. And if someone comes from that adverse childhood experience background, remember that they fundamentally already have a high level of anxiety, likely some depression. And so we'll have neurobiologically, will not have been taught how to properly connect with people, how to fit in, those kinds of things, because they weren't nurtured as kids. And so the classic scenario is a bunch of kids are out, somebody says, hey, do you want to drink alcohol? And they're feeling those things. They're feeling some anxiety. They're feeling like they don't know what to do in this situation. Like, I don't know how to fit in here, because fitting in is important. And so they think, okay, well, I'll try that. And they take some alcohol or smoke some weed or whatever, and it works. It instantly changes how their brain is responding to things. Alcohol is an anesthetic, so it cools down the anxiety, or the perception is that it cools down the anxiety, and they start to feel safe. Now, remember how this chart works. And this is basically how life works. Until you get needs met here, you can't move up here. Once you've started to use a drug, including alcohol, to feel safe, then that becomes an artificial solution to an external solution to an internal problem, which doesn't really work. And so it becomes much harder to connect to people because you still haven't learned how to do that. You're just flattening out the feelings. And if you keep using, it becomes a physiological need. So you start to need that to just like you need food and water to feel okay. And you get stuck down in that bottom layer. And so you start to miss all of the cool stuff, that happens as we start to work through life being our authentic selves. So you get a little bit of connection, but not very much. But this stuff doesn't happen. Those are the things up there that make us feel good. And so really what we're doing in your program is helping kids sort of reconnect to this process, helping them learn how to pay attention to how their needs are getting filled. So I'll leave you with that. And then the next one I'm going to give you will give you a new tool to kind of help you deal with that. So now I've got to stop the share. So there you have a big version of me. And stop recording, and I'll see you next time.